What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very, very well. We are going to preview another dungeon today, and we're going to do it with an Ele Shaman Stormkeeper build. So a lot of people have been requesting this. We're going to actually test it in a real dungeon environment, and I'm going to come along for the ride with you guys on this one, do a little bit of commentary, and explain a couple of things while we're going, because it's important just to understand some of the context of this. Ele Shaman with the Stormbringer build is okay. It's not going to perform as well as some of the other builds did. You're going to see it also just the dungeon layout is different. So there's like different packs of mobs, which is going to change how much damage we can do and yada yada. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I just want to make sure this is clear. Tempest is also not working with like any haste modifiers. So if I pop Bloodlust or get like a PI or something, which doesn't happen, but if I did, it doesn't like get shorter on the cast time. So it's completely not working. Right now, it's always a 2-second cast time, like no matter what, which really screws with a lot of things when you're trying to do damage as an Ele Shaman. This is my build, except for Ele Blast. I was running, I think, Primordial Wave in this one, which is kind of useless. I think Ele Blast is just better. Either way, there's kind of one talent point you can fiddle around with here with this build. Could go Echoes of the Great Sundering, I think, but you probably really want to go Ele Blast because you're getting the Elemental Equilibrium buff. Otherwise, there's no real way to get this. So I think you kind of need to go Ele Blast, or you go 2 points in Echoes of the Great Sundering, and then you can put this point somewhere else, but it's up to you. Either way, I did not actually have Ele Blast, so we'll just do that for now just to make it look like that. And then I was running the Stormkeeper build, Stormbringer. Remember, Conductive Energy is not working. That's the Lightning Rod talent, and my stats, my gear gets normalized in the dungeon. So we'll just take a look at it here. This is Araket, I think. Let me just see once we get in here. No, this is the City of Threads. So there's another Nerubian dungeon called Araket, I think. This is the City of Threads. This is a very cool dungeon, actually. And I'll talk about why in a minute. So I have to reload here. When you start this dungeon, it's very kind of open, this dungeon, which is really cool. And you have this initial kind of sequence where you go through the dungeon and you're going to kill probably the same set number of mobs every single time. And then there's like there's sort of like a Suramar sequence where you have to find hidden spies. And you have to have this kind of like disguise on while you're doing it. It really reminded me of Suramar, which was kind of cool. And it kind of has like a Suramar, Tazavesh market sort of feel to it. And I'll show you that when we get there. But this opening sequence is pretty easy. This is just a normal dungeon. There are 4 bosses in this dungeon. And they've got lots of pretty cool abilities. We don't really get to see most of them, though, because the mobs just died too quickly. This is sort of a signature ability that happens early on. There's this pulsing shadow thing that eventually puts a puddle on the ground. It was very cool to see that, and that happened quite a bit on a couple different mobs here. Ele Shaman, it's happening to me right now. Ele Shaman, to me, with the Stormbringer build, feels good in AoE. I think it definitely still struggles a bit to do damage on single target. Definitely. And what I think I would equate that to the fact that Tempest just isn't doing a lot of damage right now, period. Like, Tempest isn't any better than just 1 lightning bolt and 1 chain lightning basically put together. Yes, Tempest is uncapped AoE, so it hits everybody within like 8 yards, but that's a pretty small area, and the damage numbers are literally just the same damage as 1 lightning bolt and the same damage as like what 1 chain lightning would do, except that it hits all enemies. So like, it's not that much better, and I feel like it should feel better. Sometimes you get really cool moments like this with the Stormbringer build. Watch this. It goes boom, boom. You get the extra lightning procs there. Did you see that? That was cool. You do get the occasional moments like this, and I think with this build in particular, it's going to scale really well with haste. And right now, my haste is abysmal. It's at like 19% or 18% or even lower. It's very bad. So that's a huge problem. And I think, you know, Windwalker Monk doesn't really have the same kinds of struggles early on in an expansion, right? Yes, Windwalker Monk scales with haste now. I understand that. But the reality is Windwalker Monk will always do infinitely better than an Ele Shaman will if they don't have to worry about haste. So you can see in a big AoE pack, we actually can do quite a bit of damage if we can get our damage off here. But I had to move quite a bit there. Chain lightning is still hitting quite hard, but I just think they really need to buff the damage of Tempest. Tempest is so bad. It just, I had a Tempest come down right there and it just didn't do any damage. Like, look at my damage. Here comes my Tempest right here. I'm casting it right now. I'm doing like 165k, and then I went up to 170k for like a second. Like, it's not really better than pressing chain lightning most of the time. They need to significantly buff the damage of Tempest. That'd be my first sort of major criticism that for Blizzard. This is a cool boss. You get sucked into the middle and you must stay here. If you try to leave this center area, you will get yoinked back in. Okay, so very interesting little mechanic here. There's a puddle that this boss is going to put on the ground, and it's going to be very dangerous. You're going to have to move out of the puddle. The puddle is like localized, so it starts in the circle that you're in, and then if you move away, it just stays where it is. It doesn't follow you. So important to understand that. And we're going to see this puddle drop in just a second. You can see my damage here is actually like not terrible, but we do have lust. There's the puddle, so you got to move out of it. And if you get away from the boss, it's going to yoink you in, right? Or zoop. And now we need to get way out of, like on tyrannical weeks, you're going to have to be really careful about where you place that puddle. I thought that was kind of cool. Very interesting to see that. But again, our damage, like we're doing less damage than the tank did. Blood DKs are completely busted right now on the alpha, so please just keep that in mind. But our single target damage is just really struggling right now if you're playing the Stormkeeper build, in my opinion. I think the Farseer build is probably a lot better. This is a fun little sequence. This is like the Suramar sequence where you're going to get your perfume and you kill this guy and then you get perfume. And then if you walk on this area before you get your perfume, you get wrecked. And we get wrecked right here. Get web wrapped and we all die. And yeah, it's not a good time. So you need to come up to this guy. He gives you this perfume. You can say I have the buff now. It's kind of like that Suramar disguise. Very similar. Court of Stars is what I'm thinking of. Of course, sorry. She was in Court of Stars. This is the sequence where you have to go through and you have to have your perfume on and you can't get within those little circles that those guys have around them. If you do, you're going to be in big trouble. And then you're looking for spies. And if you find the spy, you can press your extra action button at the bottom here, and it will reveal the spy. Now, my team didn't understand what was going on, so I tried to bring them all back. I said, listen, there's a spy here. Come get this guy. So we reveal him, and then you fight them. And you have to do this 4 times. You can see at the top of the screen, Eyes of the Queen gouged. You have to kill 4 of them. So I think that there's always... I don't know if there's more than 4 of these things around the area. They do this weird disappearing thing and then they come back. I don't know if there's more than 4 of them, which is what I'm trying to say is like, I don't know if you can just go wherever you want and kind of pick and choose between like 4 of them. You can, or maybe there's like 8 of them in total and you just have to grab 4, or if there's only 4 and if they're always in the same spot. These ones were in similar spots the last time I did this dungeon. So I'm getting the suspicion that they might always be in the same spot. But I'm assuming that won't be the case because that would make this whole kind of the gauntlet area just kind of weird. Like it wouldn't really matter, you know? So anyway, you're going to go around and you're going to kill these 4, and you're going to watch out for all the patrols. These little ghosty pictures are going to show you where to go. And once you're done this sequence, you can get on to the last couple of bosses. So this is going to be like the bulk of the time that you're going to spend in this dungeon, I would say, is going to be searching for these clones, and you want to make sure that you finally find the one that we're looking for over here. So this was in a different spot than it was the first time I did this dungeon. So again, I think this will end up becoming the bulk of your time spent in this dungeon, is making sure you do this sequence correctly. And if you kind of mess it up and don't do it correctly, I think you're in big trouble. So I just tried to fully cast Tempest there and the enemy died. That's another thing. My haste is just so low, so I fully channeled a Tempest there, and then the enemy died right before I got it off, and so it just stopped casting. But we still did 621k there, which was actually quite good. So again, keep that in mind. I do think that the damage numbers here are actually okay. It's just you're just gonna have to scale really hard, I think, with haste. And if you don't get any haste, you're gonna have a real real problem with this build. Also, mastery is gonna be really good. This is a build that relies on overloading heavily, and my mastery is just not that great right now. If I had 60-70% mastery, or even like 80% mastery like we do right now in Dragonflight, then my lightning bolts will be overloading all the time. They would be triggering additional overloads from the new hero talent that I have, and that would be it'd just be really cool. That would trigger our Tempest procs more often. Like, it would just be really good. So I think Ele Shaman, even though it's not looking great in this dungeon, I think it will scale exceptionally well with haste and mastery. It's going to just be amazing once you get to that level, to that next level. This is a 2-target cleave boss. They do this cool jumpy around thing. They do share damage, so any specs that can do 2-target cleave really well, like an arms warrior or a destro lock or a death knight, frost death knight, would be really good on these fights. I tried changing my talents here midway through. I don't know what I was doing. This is really cool. We actually do quite a bit of damage here. This is probably the most damage that we do in the entire dungeon. We have kind of a big pop off here. I think we must get a lot of crits. I get a Stormkeeper proc, and look at this. I'm doing 2.23 million from one Stormkeeper proc. Did you see that right there? I press a lightning bolt for some stupid reason. Then watch this. Stormkeeper into boom. My lightning bolt, 350k, and then boom, 2.3 million, 2.5 million. Obviously, it comes down a little bit, but that burst damage from Stormkeeper is disgusting still. It is really good. You're still going to do crazy amounts of damage with that. Now we have to go up these stairs. We're gonna have another pretty decent pull here at the beginning, and then we end up just losing a tremendous amount of damage by the end of this pull. So like, we're kind of staying competitive right now. I'm popping these guys pretty good. Look at all the lightning rods coming down. Love that. The animations for the Stormkeeper build are amazing because you're getting so many lightning rod procs, and our damage looks pretty good right now. And then we kind of get delayed, and we end up trying to work our way up to this top section. I get a huge Tempest here. Look at this Tempest. I'm gonna hit 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. I'm gonna hit like almost 15 mobs with one Tempest, and watch my damage. I'm doing 349k, 370k, and then I hit my Tempest, and like, I was doing 340k and it went to 370k. Like, it was nothing. I basically did nothing there. I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why it's doing no damage. It needs to do way more damage, and I'm really hoping on this Tuesday reset, which is actually today, I'm hoping that they maybe buff the damage of it like substantially. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Then we have this final corridor to go through. You don't want to touch any of the webs, of course, because they will spawn more Nerubians that you're going to have to fight. So this is a really cool little sequence. These void waves will knock you back into the Nerubians there, of course. Of course, that's what this mechanic would be. So you can get knocked back. You have to be really careful about that. You don't want to get knocked back. You don't want to spawn any more minions than you have to. Yeah, I think visually, I think this build is really good. I really love the Stormkeeper build visually because you're getting the constant lightning rod procs, and Tempest is actually pretty cool looking when it comes down. It just doesn't do any damage, but if Tempest comes down and procs more, like, look at all the procs I'm getting there, procs more lightning rod effects, then it feels really good and it looks really good. So the fact that we get to really play around with lightning rod again is amazing. I love lightning rod as an idea, and visually it looks really good as well. It feels like you're finally able to play that lightning, you know, shaman that you've been trying to play. So very excited about that, and I'm really happy to see lightning rod coming back in a big way. We're gonna get even more damage on this tree. Here comes Tempest. Like, look how much damage. Okay, I'm doing a lot of damage there. There's one pull where I did a decent amount of damage, but it lasted for like 3 seconds. So either way, the lightning rod effects are really fun, and they really kind of make me want to play this more than the Farseer build. Like, I would play this over the Farseer build simply because of the animations, guys, because they're so incredibly fun. You get to see all the zaps coming down. It's really cool, man. Just ding 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 ding. Like, that's a really good feeling. Obviously the damage needs work for sure, but I'm really enjoying it. In this fight, you need to absorb these orbs so that the amalgamation man does not absorb them, and they put a healing debuff on you. You have to, the healer has to deal with those. So I think some like off healing would be really good here. Things like Ancestral Guidance or a Shadow Priest Vampiric Embrace. Those kinds of spells are going to be really big, I think, on this fight. When you're everybody should grab a ball, and then you just pop Ancestral Guidance and you just go, and you're going to be able to top everybody along with the healer. It's going to be really helpful. So once again, you can see our damage here is pretty good. Here comes the Tempest. Okay, there we go. Boom. That actually did a decent amount of damage there. Up to 475 right away. I don't know why it's putting me above the monk. There we go. But this is where it really pays off. Look at this. See how much damage I just did right there? That's my chain lightning. It's not my Tempest, it's my Chain Lightnings after the fact that are doing big damage. We're taking the talent that gives us 75% more damage on our Chain Lightnings if you hit multiple targets with Tempest, right? So Tempest comes down, and then it's my Chain Lightnings are just boom! They proc all the lightning rods, and they do a lot of damage. So I'm telling you, this build can do damage. It's just like, you have to have the right kind of moments. And again, I think our stats are so bad right now that once they get better, we'll be in really good shape. This is a mini boss before the main boss. These are like the two commanders of the army, I think, kind of thing. So 2 target cleave, once again, very strong in this dungeon in general. Here comes my Chain Lightnings that are giga juiced, lots of damage there. And then if you're on single target, what you're really trying to do is get overloads. You want your lightning bolt to overload like at least 3 or 4 times, like ideally. And you can make that happen if you line it up correctly. If you do an earth shock, so if you do like a lava burst into an earth shock into a lightning bolt, you should get at least 3 overloads on that lightning bolt. And that's going to be really, really big for you because those lightning bolts might overload again, right? With the extra talents that we have from the hero. So I'm going to go lava burst here. I think I go lava burst into earth shock into lightning bolt. Here comes my lightning bolt. Let's see how many times it overloads. 1, 2, 3. There's 4, 5. I think it went 5 times there. Do you see that? That's what I'm talking about. So you can get those kinds of overloads. Now, the damage is still terrible. It's still not that good. So something I think for Blizzard to work on a little bit. Like, it looks cool. I understand what we're trying to do here. I get it, but it just isn't working enough. It needs to be working a little bit better, okay, than it is right now. Our damage is just not quite there. I think the Windwalker Monk's damage is probably a little bit too high as well, but we should be doing more than 200k, I would say, at the item level that they've scaled us to, which is about 520, 530. I think like we should be doing more on single target. So hopefully we can work on that. It can get a little bit better. That is the build in a nutshell. That is the dungeon, the City of Threads. Let me know what you guys think about that. Again, yeah. The big talents that I was talking about was like your big 3 Chain Lightnings after you press a Tempest. They do so much extra damage. This is really where the bread and butter is. It's awesome. Very, very good damage there. Of course, we're always cooling down Storm Elemental and we're cooling down Stormkeeper because of Flash of Lightning. So that's a really cool thing that's always happening. Tempest itself just needs to actually be affected by haste, and then the cooldown will come down and then it'll feel good to press. And I think they really need to buff the damage of it. The damage of it is just way too low for it being like this amazing proc that we're getting. It's just not doing enough damage. So the only thing it's really doing is setting us up for this arc discharge damage. So yeah, I like this build, guys. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's good. I think it needs a few buffs and it will get there eventually. That is the dungeon footage. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. We'd love to hear from all of you. We're going to have a reset today. So we'll have to wait and see. Usually by Wednesday morning, all the alpha stuff kind of gets put on. So we're going to have to wait and see kind of what happens that way. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. We'd love to hear from all of you down there. Thank you so much again for watching. I will see you in the next one.